I was gonna say, I heard a louder clapping from backstage a second ago. I couldn't tell if that's a speaker or if I have more fans. I think I just have more fans in the back. Okay, so apparently I have 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So we're gonna do lightning round. I think I'm supposed to have 30 minutes. For those of you who don't know and who wanna skip this session, we're gonna spend a bunch of time talking about cloud infrastructure. My guess is that most of you are not super excited about cloud infrastructure. You're much more excited about healthcare or patients or making their lives better. I'm the guy they got here to say, hey, why don't you talk to these people about computers, computer stuff. I said, okay, I'll do it. I have tried to customize this such that it's relevant. I think it is. So at the end of this, what I can promise you is that you're going to know more about cloud infrastructure as a whole, but very much about how it pertains to healthcare, and what I want you all to walk away with an understanding about how better infrastructure is going to make your life and the lives of the people you're trying to help better. With that in mind, I'm really only going to talk about 3 topics. The first is around security of data. The second is around the privacy and control of that same data. And the last thing I want to talk about is how important it is to have the right infrastructure to enable the innovation that you need to be able to keep up with the requirements of your end users. So, we can talk a lot about data security, and obviously it's important whether you're storing someone's medical records, whether you're storing someone's credit card transactions, data security matters across the board. Regardless of what company you have, you don't want to be on the front page of a publication talking about how you've lost your customers' data. But I think the thing that I personally care about, I think that all of you personally care about, is that when it comes to health information, it's actually more than that. It's more than just, I have a business, my customers expect it from me. If I screw it up, they will be mad. If I screw it up, my stock will go down, people will sue me. We're talking about the most sensitive information in people's lives. And when we do a bad job of keeping data secure, when we allow other people who aren't supposed to have access to it to use it, it undermines people's trust in the overall medical system. And what we all know is that when we undermine that trust, the result is not my company doesn't do as well or this organization fails. It's that people don't get the health care they need. Right? That to me is the obligation that we all have in this industry. It's not just that it's better for us. When we mess up, the consequence is that people defer, delay, or avoid getting the health care they need because they don't have confidence we're going to do right by them. So I think many of you know this, that the landscape that we live in is very different. I don't know if any of you remember I'm probably dating myself, but any of you who remember, the credit card industry before PCI came about, we were fast and loose with credit cards. They were stored all over the place and they weren't encrypted necessarily, and it was really easy. And as the attackers came about, as more and more people started having credit cards, as more and more, the value of getting access to those credit cards became higher, suddenly, as a whole industry who handled payments, we had to increase our overall security level. The same thing is happening when it comes to healthcare information, right? More and more of this information is stored electronically, and the adversaries have better and better tools every day to go out and attack, whether it be for attacking a company so they can use ransomware to get your data back, whether it be stealing your information and then selling it to other people on an illegal market. What we all know is that every day, the adversaries get better. And it's tough because for most of us, most of you, you don't wake up thinking about security all the time. You wake up thinking about how can I provide a better patient experience? So a huge part of what matters when you adopt a cloud, and this is true of any cloud, this is true whether it's Oracle's cloud or some of our competitors' cloud, and I'll talk to you in a moment about some very interesting things that we're doing at Oracle to really improve our security. By having people that are constantly watching for this, you're able to leverage the massive economies of scale and investment they're making, right? So when you go in and you adopt Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and you run on top of our secure network, and you run on top of our secure virtual machines, and you run on top of our secure database, we have thousands and thousands of people that wake up every day, and their only job is to make sure that those systems are not compromised. That's very different than if you're doing it all on your own. I'll give you a concrete example. Take something that we've been working on for over 2 years. It's what we call zero trust packet routing. Larry announced this last month at Oracle Cloud World. The concept is quite simple. Typically in our infrastructure, and this is true whether it's in your own data center or in the cloud, one of the most important things that we do is control access to what systems are available on which networks. And traditionally that's been done by very complex rules about which ports are allowed to talk to which ports and which CIDR blocks and IP addresses can talk to this subnet. And it's very easy to mess up. And what can happen when you're not careful is a network engineer or someone on your IT team goes in, configures a change to the network, which accidentally exposes those systems to other parts of your network it shouldn't be, or to the internet. So what we've done with zero trust packet routing is we've separated out the ability to decide who has access to systems, so the access control, the security, from how things are actually routed. And what that means is that by adopting things like zero trust packet routing, suddenly you can have very simple policies that say, I don't care what networking configuration. You can take this database and accidentally put it out open to the internet. At the security layer, we know that you cannot expose it there, and it's automatically blocked. This is a critical part of our overall cloud infrastructure strategy, and all of our services are adopting zero trust packet routing. Another great example is autonomous database. So Oracle, as you might, if you don't know a lot about Oracle, one of the things you probably should know is that we've been a database company for a long time. And we've invested very heavily into our database technology over the past 4 decades. We have a product called Autonomous Database. And the way to think about this is very similar to a self-driving car. The way databases are traditionally managed is that you have the infrastructure layer and you have a management service, but the operations of this is still incredibly manual. You have database administrators that are doing things like backing up and patching these databases. With Oracle Autonomous Database, we've completely automated that 100% of the way. What that means now is that you can't go in and misconfigure things. You can't accidentally turn encryption off. You can't turn backups off. You can't accidentally configure this database so that it's exposed in the wrong way. All of our applications, right, whether it be things like Fusion or NetSuite or some of our other industry applications focused on healthcare, all run on top of this database technology. Another area that we're investing in very heavily is our digital identity services. So one of the things that I'm also responsible for at Oracle, in addition to our cloud infrastructure, I'm also responsible for all of our internal systems. As part of that, one of the changes that we've made over the past year is that we no longer use passwords. None of our employee systems, whether it be from our own HR and payroll applications to the way in which we administer our cloud, et cetera, they don't use passwords anymore. The reason for that is one of the most common sources of security breaches is phishing attacks, right? It's not someone comes in and they break your encryption algorithm. It's someone gets access to someone's password, whether it be on social media or through a communication or collaboration tool. They then take that password and they're able to infiltrate your systems. You can block all of that by getting rid of passwords. And most recently, we've added biometric authentication to be able to do things like facial recognition, fingerprint recognition, retina scanning, all of that functionality, such that based on the level of security you need for your application, you have the right digital identity functionality that's completely integrated into it. These are 3 examples of innovative new technologies that we're constantly adding to cloud infrastructure that then get integrated into your applications. So when you think about, okay, maybe I'm a customer of Millennium, or maybe I'm a customer of Fusion, how do I take advantage of this? Well, that's where those application teams are integrating these technologies directly into those applications. So, talking more about data control. So it's one thing to say we need to make sure that attackers don't get access to the data. It's another thing to think about, well, what is the level of control and governance about that same data? For the same reasons that your patients don't want their data to be stolen, there are many reasons those people want to make sure that that data is not used by the wrong people and that data is stored in locations that they care about. So one of the things that we've been focused on very heavily at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is our ability to deploy our cloud all over the world. So a big part of our differentiator and how we've architected OCI is that we can scale up. We have extremely large regions, and I'll talk about that at the end when we talk about innovation. But we also have the ability to scale down. And what that's done is it's enabled us, as a cloud provider, to build more regions around the world, to make sure that when we go into a country, we go in with more than one region so that we have the business continuity and disaster recovery requirements met for the most demanding applications. And it's also enabled us to be able to build a product that we can provide to individual customers. So when you look at this map, for example, with 165 live or planned regions, that's just the beginning for us. We see a future of where the cloud is truly distributed. It's available in many, many locations, both in big and small. Talking a bit more about that, we have an offering that we call OCI Dedicated Region. What this is that through our ability to scale our infrastructure down, we can actually provide full cloud functionality into a customer's data center. So I'll give you an example. Vodafone is a dedicated region customer for us. Vodafone runs a very large telecommunications network. As part of that network, they want the ability to use the best and the most valuable services from the cloud, but they can't just take their entire network and put it into the public cloud. So what they did is they acquired dedicated regions from us. We built 6 individual regions for them around the world. And they then moved their most demanding applications, which still needed to be right next to those network telemetry applications. They move those workloads and they get all the same benefits of the cloud. They get pay-as-you-go billing, they get just-in-time provisioning, they get the scalability, they get the security of this, but they still maintain the ultimate control of where their data goes, who's operating it, and where it's deployed. We continue to innovate in this area by constantly shrinking our footprint. So if you go back to where we were 4 or 5 years ago, the minimum footprint was more than 25 racks. Where we were, say, a year ago, was we shrunk it down to where we could fit it in 12 racks. And where we'll be next summer is we can fit an entire cloud region in 3 racks. And that's enabling us to be able to put the cloud in locations that we weren't able to before. The reason this is relevant for you is that as you think about how do you expand your businesses globally, how do we go into countries where data sovereignty and control is so important? Well, as a partner, we can enable that by enabling the right infrastructure that enables the most demanding applications to run on top, but in a sovereign manner. So, talking about innovation, and of course, this is where we put the AI section of the talk. For those of you who don't want to talk about AI, I promise you can leave early. The bathrooms are back and to the right. I think we all agree, and I think you've all heard over the past few days, and also even earlier this morning, the great advancements that we're making at a healthcare level, empowered by things like AI and these transformations. Ultimately, it really comes down to patients don't just want better healthcare; they want better health. Right? One of the things that excites me the most about the work that I get to do as an infrastructure person is that I get to enable the very diverse and interesting workloads on top of us. So, sometimes I'm powering a company like Uber, who's enabling people to take, rides around the city. Other times, I'm powering new AI workloads where they're doing protein folding and looking for cures for new diseases. It's a very diverse set of requirements that I get the joy of being able to enable. The technology that we have now and the rate of innovation is faster than it ever has been. And so the thing that you need out of your infrastructure, right? I don't think all of you necessarily are going to wake up tomorrow and say, I think that the way, we're all going to buy large GPU clusters or train our own AI models. But you need infrastructure that has the capabilities to enable the usage of that wherever you are. Because the end result of that is that your patients have a much better health experience. So, at Oracle, what are we doing to make this possible? Well, one thing is that we fully integrate AI across our stack. You've heard Mike talk, you've heard Seema talk, right? One of the things that is so special about Oracle is that we're both an applications and an infrastructure company, right? From being able to build a small cloud region, being able to run your supply chain and your financial system on top of it, being able to run a national identity system, being able to run an electronic health record system, all of that in one integrated system is incredible, and other companies don't do that. And the fact that we have, at the infrastructure layer, the capabilities, whether it be the raw compute or the models, and I'll talk about that some more, the fact that we integrate that is, I think, critically important. The fact that we aren't just offering our own technology. So the rate of change that we have in this industry, we need to partner with the best available offerings to give you access to those great new advancements. And again, the latest hardware and software to make it all possible. The end result of that is that you are able to integrate this enterprise AI at every layer of the stack. Because most people, I find, while they get excited by the idea of doing their own training, their own inferencing, most people just want the AI integrated into the applications directly. So we have many partners that we've been working with from our generative AI service to make their models available. We have a long-standing relationship with Cohere that has done an amazing job of integrating their technology into our ecosystem, at customizing their models for our enterprise use cases. We also have a great relationship with Meta, where we're using Llama, and the most recent advancements, I'm very impressed by the rate at which Meta is investing into Llama and their very large models, and many, many others. We're dedicated at Oracle to making sure all of those models are available because different use cases are differently served by different models. And the same thing applies to investments that we make into things like retrieval augmented generation, the fact that Oracle Database and Oracle Autonomous Database have our vector capability, so that you have all of the tools necessary at the infrastructure and the platform layer to take advantage of AI in your applications. The same thing is true at the infrastructure level. So, I don't know how many of you are hardcore infrastructure geeks like myself. I think it's probably not many. But the computing power required to enable this great new AI transformation is truly staggering. We're talking about, the way to think about it is imagine if you had data centers that were the size of, 10 of these floors that we're standing in this hotel, and they were full of these incredibly expensive computers that were all networked together and all simultaneously working together on a single problem. The power requirements are immense, requiring hundreds of megawatts to be able to power these things. And literally you're talking about 50, 100 miles of cable to be able to connect all of these computers together. At OCI, we're able to take and build these massive superclusters, but we're also able to work with some of our closest partners. These are companies like Etisalat in the UAE, some of our NRI in Japan, where we actually can offer single or a few racks of GPUs to power customized retraining models, as well as doing generative AI inferencing. We have the breadth and the scale at the infrastructure level to meet your needs, whether it's for big training or you have small data problems, but you need access to this in a very sovereign and controlled way. So, the thing I want you all to understand is that at Oracle, it's really about the fact that we have applications and infrastructure, that our cloud is truly integrated, and that we're really focused on building our cloud differently so that we can both scale up and scale down and scale out to wherever you need it. With ultimately the focus being that we can provide better care for all of your patients. Thank you very much.